The massive alien ship hung in Earth's orbit like a silver teardrop. It had appeared 3 days ago, causing panic at first, then cautious hope when the aliens sent peaceful messages. They called themselves the Valtraxian Confederacy. John Miller adjusted his tie and took a deep breath. As Earth's ambassador, he carried humanity's future on his shoulders. Beside him stood Captain Lisa Wright, her military uniform crisp and perfect. The shuttle that would take them to the alien vessel waited. "Ready, Ambassador?" Lisa asked. John nodded, as ready as anyone can be to meet aliens. The shuttle ride was smooth and quick. When they docked with the massive ship, John felt his heart racing. A panel slid open, revealing their hosts. The Valtraxians looked almost like tall, thin humans, but with bluish skin and large, dark eyes. They wore flowing robes with strange symbols. The leader stepped forward. "Welcome, humans. I am High Chancellor Drek. We are pleased to meet Earth's representatives." John stepped forward. "Thank you for this historic opportunity. I'm Ambassador John Miller, and this is Captain Lisa Wright, our military liaison." The aliens led them through curved hallways into a large meeting room. Other alien species sat around a table, some with scales, others with extra limbs or eyes. All watched the humans with intense interest. "These are representatives from the 7 species of our Confederacy," Drek explained. "We have peacefully united this part of the galaxy for 3 centuries. The meeting lasted hours. The aliens offered technology exchanges and limited membership in their alliance. They showed images of beautiful alien worlds and advanced machines. They spoke of peace and cooperation. Yet something felt off to Lisa. She noticed how the aliens never came too close to the humans. They flinched when John moved too quickly. Their eyes constantly darted to small devices they carried. Devices pointed at the humans. During the fancy dinner after the meeting, Lisa watched closely. The aliens ate strange foods and drank glowing liquids. They asked many questions about Earth, especially about human biology and military capabilities. "Your species adapts quickly to injury and illness," one alien scientist named Krex said. "Most interesting." "We're pretty tough," John replied with a smile. "Humans have survived on Earth through ice ages, plagues, and world wars." The aliens exchanged quick glances. Lisa caught it. A waiter carrying drinks tripped suddenly. The tray crashed to the floor with a loud bang. What happened next confirmed Lisa's suspicions. 3 Valtraxian diplomats jumped back. 2 reached inside their robes, pulling out what looked like weapons before catching themselves. Another's eyes dilated completely black. All 7 species showed signs of fear, real fear. "Just an accident," John said smoothly, helping the embarrassed waiter. "Of course," Drek replied, his voice higher than before. "We are simply cautious by nature." Later, when the humans returned to their private room on the ship, Lisa voiced her concerns. "They're scared of us, John. Did you see their reactions?" John nodded slowly. "I noticed. But why would advanced aliens fear humans? They have ships that cross stars. We've barely reached our own moon. I don't know, but they're studying us like we're dangerous animals, not potential allies." Meanwhile, in another part of the ship, Science Officer Krex reviewed the human bioscan data with growing alarm. He encrypted his findings before sending them to Valtraxian High Command. "Computer, secure channel to Supreme Command," Krex said. The screen lit up, showing an older Valtraxian with military insignia. The humans match the ancient profiles, Supreme Commander. Their bioelectric signatures are dormant but present. Their physical resilience exceeds predictions, and their aggressive potential. Krex paused. "It's exactly as the artifacts warned." "No, they believe they evolved naturally on their world. They have no knowledge of the progenitors or their true purpose." The commander was silent for a moment. "Continue the diplomatic approach. Learn everything about their capabilities and weaknesses. We must determine if containment is possible, or if more permanent measures will be required." "Understood," Supreme Commander, what of the ancient sites on their moon and Mars? If they discover those, we'll secure them immediately. The humans must not learn their true nature until we decide how to proceed. The call ended. Krex stared at the human biological scans on his screen. The reading showed something that terrified even the mighty Valtraxian Confederacy, the unmistakable genetic markers of living weapons created by a civilization that had nearly destroyed the galaxy 50,000 years ago. Back in their quarters, John and Lisa prepared for bed, unaware of the true purpose behind the seemingly friendly first contact. 6 months had passed since the Valtraxians arrived. Earth buzzed with activity as humans and aliens worked together on various projects. The biggest was the construction of Earth's first faster-than-light ship, the EDF Challenger, in orbit above the planet. Colonel Alan Parker floated through the construction site, checking progress reports. At 45, with gray touching his temples, Alan had been chosen to oversee the project because of his engineering background and calm demeanor. "The power couplings don't match these specifications," Alan said, showing his tablet to Zolric, the Valtraxian engineer assigned to the project. Zolric, taller and thinner than most of his kind, adjusted his breathing mask. All Valtraxians wore them in human environments, claiming Earth's atmosphere contained too much oxygen. "Your observation is correct, Colonel Parker. The materials were changed by my superiors without updating the plans. These couplings handle more power." Alan frowned. "I need to be informed of changes, Zolric. This is a joint project." Of course, it was an oversight. Zolric seemed genuinely apologetic. Unlike most Valtraxians, who remained distant with humans, Zolric showed real interest in working together. Later that day, as they inspected the engine room, a support beam broke loose. Alan saw it falling toward Zolric and reacted instantly. He pushed the alien clear, but the beam caught Alan's arm, tearing his suit and cutting deep into his flesh. Emergency crews arrived quickly. As they patched his wound, Zolric watched with unusual intensity. "You are injured badly, yet you barely show pain," the alien observed. Alan shrugged his good shoulder. "It's not so bad. I've had worse falling off my bike as a kid." That evening, after Alan was released from medical with 20 stitches, Zolric invited him for drinks in the station's lounge. After several rounds, the Valtraxians seemed to relax. "You saved me today," Zolric said quietly. "No Valtraxian would risk injury for another species." "It's what humans do," Alan replied. "We look out for each other, even new friends." Zolric stared into his drink, then leaned closer. "The Confederacy is not what you think, Colonel Parker." "What do you mean?" "We are not 7 equal species working together. We are conquerors. The founding species subjugated the others, and together we've conquered dozens more." Alan kept his face neutral despite his shock. "Why tell me this?" "Because I study your people. You fight for what you believe in." "And because—" Zolric hesitated. "Because there are rumors about why High Command is so interested in humans." Meanwhile, at the Joint Research Facility in Geneva, Dr. Susan Reeves was growing frustrated. The xenobiologist had been working with Valtraxian medical data for months, but kept hitting walls. "The data doesn't make sense," she told her assistant. "Humans heal faster than any Valtraxian species. We have better endurance, our pain tolerance is higher, and our bioelectric field readings are off the charts compared to theirs. Maybe that's why they wear those protective suits around us," her assistant suggested. "Maybe, but why block my research? Every time I request more information, they classify something new." Susan walked to the window, looking at the Valtraxian ships visible in the evening sky. Something wasn't right. On Mars Colony, night had fallen on the research outpost. Security Chief Ben Martinez made his rounds, checking the perimeter. The colony had expanded rapidly since the Valtraxians provided new dome technology. Ben noticed movement near the communications array. Drawing his sidearm, he approached carefully. "Stop. Identify yourself." The figure turned. A Valtraxian in a full environmental suit. The alien raised empty hands. Maintenance check, Human Martinez. There's no scheduled maintenance tonight. Let me see your authorization. The Valtraxian reached slowly into a pocket, then suddenly threw something that exploded in a flash of light. Ben fired blindly, hearing a cry of pain. When his vision cleared, the alien was gone, but green blood marked the ground. Ben called it in, then checked the communications array. He found a small device attached to its base. Security breach at communications. I found some kind of device. Before anyone could respond, the device pulsed. Every system in the Mars colony flickered and died. Back on the Challenger construction site, Alan and Zolric were interrupted by alarms. What's happening? Alan demanded. Zolric's eyes showed fear. It's starting. Sooner than I expected. What's starting? The containment protocol. Your Mars colony just went dark, didn't it? Alan's communicator confirmed it seconds later. When he looked up, Zolric was already moving toward an access panel. We need to secure this ship now, the alien said urgently. It's the only chance your people will have. 1 year after first contact, the Valtraxians showed their true colors. It happened on a normal Tuesday morning. Around the world, people looked up as the friendly alien ships suddenly changed position. Their sleek hulls opened to reveal weapons. In Washington, D.C., Ambassador John Miller was in a meeting with Valtraxian representatives when their communicators all beeped at once. The aliens stood up together, their faces suddenly cold. What's happening? John asked. The lead alien, Drek, looked at him without emotion. The containment begins. Do not resist. It will only cause unnecessary suffering. Outside, the first attacks hit. Not explosions, but electromagnetic pulses that shut down power grids, communications, and defense systems. Military bases went dark. Planes lost control and had to make emergency landings. The world went silent in minutes. On the half-finished EDF Challenger, Colonel Alan Parker, now promoted to general, watched in horror as Earth's defense satellites went offline one by one. The ship's systems remained working only because they weren't fully connected to Earth networks yet. They're using the backdoors they built into our systems, Zolric explained, typing frantically at a control panel. Every piece of technology they shared had hidden kill switches. Why? Alan demanded. Why attack us now? High Command called humanity a dangerous biological anomaly. They fear what you could become. Alarms blared as Valtraxian ships approached the construction platform. We need to go, Zolric said. This ship is your people's only chance. Alan made a quick decision. Sound evacuation alarms. Get everyone aboard we can fit. How much of the ship is operational? Life support, engines, basic weapons. No shields yet. It'll have to do. As chaos erupted around them, Alan called Dr. Susan Reeves, who was on the station studying alien medical data. Susan, get to Docking Bay 3 now. Bring all your research. We're launching the Challenger. Launching. But it's not finished. It's our only option. The Valtraxians are attacking Earth. Within an hour, the Challenger's skeleton crew had grown to include nearly 500 people, civilians and military personnel who had been working on the station. As the first Valtraxian boarding parties breached the outer docks, Alan gave the order. Disconnect all moorings. Fire emergency thrusters. The unfinished ship broke free, parts of its hull still exposed to space. Emergency force fields flickered to contain atmosphere in damaged sections. Incoming fighters. A young lieutenant shouted from a makeshift tactical station. Evasive maneuvers, Alan ordered. Zolric, is the jump drive operational? The alien's fingers flew across the controls. Barely. I can give you one jump. But I can't guarantee where we'll end up. Anywhere but here, Alan said as the ship rocked from a direct hit. The stars blurred as the Challenger made its desperate escape. Back on Earth, the invasion unfolded differently than the Valtraxians had planned. They had expected an easy takeover once Earth's technology was disabled. Instead, they found fierce resistance. In Chicago, Major Frank Daniels led police and civilians in fighting back against alien patrols. The aliens had better weapons, but they moved awkwardly in Earth's gravity and seemed affected by the atmosphere even through their suits. They can bleed, Frank told his fighters after their first victory, and they don't do well in hand-to-hand combat. They're not used to our gravity or our germs. Across town, communications specialist Olivia Martinez had discovered something useful. In the ruins of a research lab, she found that the aliens' equipment sometimes malfunctioned around large groups of humans. It's like our bodies give off some kind of interference, she explained to Frank when their groups met up. Their comms go fuzzy when we get close enough. Similar discoveries were happening worldwide. The Valtraxians had superior technology, but humans fought with desperation and home field advantage. Instead of quick conquest, the aliens were forced to establish fortified bases and orbital control points. In orbit, High Commander Kever received troubling reports. The humans resist more effectively than predicted, his second-in-command reported. They show unusual strength and stamina. Worse, their bioelectric signatures are intensifying under stress. Kever's expression darkened. The ancient warnings were correct. They are awakening. Shift to containment strategy. We must prevent them from leaving their world while we prepare the final solution. On the Challenger, now limping through unfamiliar space with damaged systems, Alan Parker gathered his makeshift crew. We've escaped, but Earth needs us, he told them. Somehow, we'll fix this ship, find allies if possible, and return to free our home. The EDF Challenger drifted in an unknown star system, its engines cooling after the desperate jump from Earth. Warning lights flashed across the bridge as the crew worked to stabilize the damaged ship. Report, General Alan Parker ordered, his voice steady despite the situation. Life support stable on decks 1 through 15. Hull breaches sealed on lower decks, a young officer replied. The jump drive is offline. We're stuck here until repairs can be made. Susan Reeves approached Ellen with a tablet. We need to talk about what I found in the Valtraxian data. Before she could continue, Lieutenant Chris Howard interrupted. Sir, sensors are picking up a structure in orbit around the fourth planet. It's not natural, and it's not Valtraxian. Ellen looked at the scan results. An abandoned space station. How old? Very old. Sir, the materials have been exposed to radiation for thousands of years. Ellen made a quick decision. Prepare a team. Dr. Reeves, Lieutenant Howard, you're with me. We'll check it out while the engineers work on repairs. Their shuttle approached the ancient station carefully. It was shaped like a ring with spokes connecting to a central hub. No lights or signals came from it. No power signatures, Chris said. But the structure is intact. The builders knew what they were doing. They docked at an airlock that looked designed for beings about human size. Once inside, they switched on their lights and explored the dark hallways. Look at these symbols, Susan said, pointing to markings on the walls. They're similar to fragments found in the Valtraxian database, labeled as progenitor script. They found laboratories filled with strange equipment. Everything was covered in dust, but nothing was broken. In one room, large tanks lined the walls. Chris examined them. These look like growth chambers for growing living things. Susan's light fell on a control panel. When she brushed dust from it, it glowed faintly. It's responding to my touch. The panel activated, displaying symbols that changed as they watched. Somehow, the ancient computer was translating itself. It says this is Genetic Research Station 47. Susan read slowly. It belonged to a species called the progenitors. Progenitors? Ellen asked. Zolric mentioned that name once. They continued exploring and found a sealed vault at the station's center. The door had no visible controls, but when Alan placed his hand on it, Lines of light spread from his palm. The door opened silently. Inside was a circular room with a pedestal in the center. Above it floated a hologram showing a double helix. DNA. It's human DNA, Susan whispered in shock, but with modifications highlighted. When they approached, the pedestal activated, showing more images, star maps, diagrams of different species, and finally, humans. A voice spoke in a strange language, then shifted to broken English. Genetic weapon project. Completed. Test subjects. Placed on isolation world. Project War God. Successful. The three humans stared at each other in shock. Are you saying humans were created? Chris asked the computer. Affirmative. Created as biological weapons. Enhanced endurance. Enhanced aggression. Enhanced bioelectric field capabilities. Susan stepped forward. What are bioelectric field capabilities? The hologram showed a human figure with lines of energy radiating from it. Bioelectric disruption of other sentient neural networks. Control of progenitor technology interfaces. We were designed as weapons, Alan said quietly. That's why the Voltraxians fear us. The computer continued. Project abandoned when progenitor civilization ended. Test subjects left to develop naturally on isolation world. Earth. Susan finished. We were abandoned on Earth. They spent hours downloading the station's data. The truth was both amazing and disturbing. Humans had been engineered with special abilities that would activate fully as they matured as a species. Their powerful bioelectric fields could potentially control all progenitor technology scattered throughout the galaxy, or disrupt the nervous systems of other species. As they prepared to return to the Challenger, Susan examined more files. The Voltraxians found fragments of this information. They attacked Earth because they're afraid of what we might become. Back on the Challenger, Zolric confirmed their discovery. The Confederacy has been hunting and containing progenitor projects for centuries. My people feared what would happen if humans ever discovered their true nature. Alan looked out at the stars. Well, now we know. The question is, what do we do with this knowledge? We use it, Susan said firmly. If humans were designed to interface with progenitor technology, maybe we can find more of it. Maybe we can use it to save Earth. Alan nodded slowly. First, we need to finish repairs and make contact with any resistance back home. Back on Earth, the resistance had grown stronger over the past months. Major Frank Daniels and his fighters had captured a Voltraxian communication hub near the ruins of Detroit. The building was heavily guarded, but the aliens hadn't expected humans to attack through the sewers. Frank looked over the alien equipment while Olivia Martinez worked to understand it. Her background in communications made her the best person for the job. She had discovered that humans could disrupt Voltraxian systems, and she wanted to know why. I'm in, Olivia announced. They don't change their passwords often. Overconfident. Frank joined her at the main console. What are they saying to each other? Most of it is in their language, but look at these images. The screen showed Voltraxian leaders in heated discussion. Though they couldn't understand the words, the body language was clear. They were arguing. Can you translate any of it? Frank asked. Olivia pointed to text being automatically translated. Just fragments. Something about the human problem and final measures. Some want to kill us all. Others seem afraid of what might happen if they try. Afraid of us? Why would advanced aliens fear humans? I don't know, but it might explain something I found. Olivia led Frank to a small lab. When we touch their technology, it sometimes malfunctions. I've been experimenting. She showed him a Voltraxian weapon. Watch. When she placed her hand on it, the lights flickered. Our bodies give off some kind of energy they can't shield against, and the effect gets stronger when we feel threatened. Frank considered this. Can we use it? I think so. I made these. She showed him simple gloves with wires. They amplify whatever energy we naturally produce. Touch a Voltraxian device while wearing these, and it shuts down completely. Meanwhile, in space, the EDF Challenger had found unexpected allies. After repairing their ship using parts from the abandoned station, they had detected faint signals from a nearby system. There they discovered a hidden colony of insect-like aliens called the Nixathar. The Nixathar leader, Queen Clect, communicated through a translator. Your arrival was foretold. Our ancestors spoke of the progenitors and their warrior seeds who would one day challenge the oppressors. General Alan Parker, Susan Reeves, and the crew learned that the Nixathar had been hiding from the Valtraxian Confederacy for generations. The Valtraxians destroyed our homeworld when we refused to submit, Queen Clect explained. The survivors built this hidden colony. We have been watching and waiting. The Nixathar provided supplies and information about Valtraxian weaknesses. Susan worked with their scientists to understand human bioelectric potential. Your species produces neural electricity at frequencies that disrupt Valtraxian technology and nervous systems, a Nixathar scientist explained. The progenitors designed you this way deliberately. With Nixathar help, Susan developed exercises to strengthen the human crew's bioelectric fields. It started small, making lights flicker, disrupting simple circuits. But some crew members, especially those with intense focus or under stress, showed stronger abilities. It's like a muscle, Susan explained to Alan. The more we use it, the stronger it gets. The Challenger began a campaign to liberate small Valtraxian outposts. At each location, they found humans kept in special containment facilities, prisoners taken before the main invasion. The Valtraxians were studying them like dangerous specimens. During one rescue mission, Lieutenant Chris Howard discovered his own abilities were growing. When cornered by Valtraxian soldiers, his fear and determination triggered something new. The aliens' weapons shut down, and the aliens themselves collapsed, clutching their heads in pain. It's evolving, Susan told Alan after examining Chris. His bioelectric field actually affected their nervous systems, just like the progenitor data said was possible. Word of the Challenger's victory spread. The Nixathar shared information through hidden channels. Other subjugated species began to whisper about the human weapon awakening at last. On Earth, Frank and Olivia made contact with resistance groups on other continents. They shared their discoveries about human bioelectric interference and the devices they'd created to amplify it. The Valtraxians are planning something big, Frank told leaders from Europe, Asia, and Africa over a secure channel. They're arguing among themselves, but the hardliners want to eliminate us completely. Then we strike first, said the Asian resistance leader. We use these devices to disable their systems and hit them everywhere at once. As they planned their coordinated attack, Frank received an unexpected message, routed through a dozen hidden relays. It was from the EDF Challenger. 8 months after the invasion, hope returned to Earth. The EDF Challenger, now repaired and upgraded with progenitor technology, led a small fleet of ships from liberated worlds back to the solar system. General Alan Parker stood on the bridge, watching as they approached Mars under stealth. The red planet was surrounded by Valtraxian ships and bases. Incoming transmission from Earth Resistance, Lieutenant Chris Howard announced. They're ready for our signal. Alan nodded. Tell them we'll begin in 6 hours. Our teams need to get into position first. Susan Reeves entered the bridge, followed by 20 soldiers. Each wore a simple headband designed to focus their bioelectric fields. Team Alpha is ready, she said. We've been practicing the techniques. Everyone can generate a visible field now. The plan was dangerous but necessary. Using the knowledge gained from the progenitor station and the Nixathar scientists, Susan had refined the method to amplify human bioelectric abilities. Enhanced human operators would infiltrate the Valtraxian flagship in Earth orbit. Their goal, capture the ship intact. On Earth, Major Frank Daniels and Olivia Martinez prepared their forces. Resistance fighters worldwide wore Olivia's improved disruption devices. The coordinated attack would happen simultaneously around the globe. Once the Challenger takes out their command ship, we move, Frank told his team. Every Valtraxian base at the same time. Remember, their systems will shut down when we get close enough. The Challenger launched 5 small, stealthy shuttles toward the massive Valtraxian flagship. Lieutenant Chris Howard led the team, with Susan accompanying as their bioelectric field expert. "Approach vector clear," Chris whispered into his communicator. "No sign they've detected us." "Remember your training," Susan reminded everyone. "Stay calm until we're inside. Then let your emotions fuel your fields." Their shuttle attached to the flagship's hull near a maintenance hatch. Using tools developed from progenitor designs, they cut through silently and entered the ship. Similar teams were boarding at different points. Inside, they moved through dark corridors, avoiding patrols. When they couldn't avoid contact, their enhanced fields proved devastatingly effective. Valtraxian soldiers collapsed as humans approached, their nervous systems overwhelmed by the focused bioelectric energy. In the ship's central control room, Supreme General Kiver received alarming reports. Multiple security breaches, systems failing throughout the ship. Kiver watched the security feeds in horror. Humans were moving through his ship, their bodies glowing with blue energy. Equipment shut down as they passed. His soldiers fell without being touched. "This is what High Command feared," Kiver whispered. "They've awakened their progenitor abilities." When Chris's team reached the bridge, they found Kiver waiting. Unlike his panicking crew, the old general stood calmly. "You've come to capture my ship," he said. "You might as well know the truth." Chris kept his weapon ready. "What truth?" "The Valtraxians have known about the progenitors for millennia. We've hunted down their abandoned projects throughout the galaxy. But humans..." Kiver's eyes narrowed. "You were the only weapon species to reach technological advancement before we found you." Susan stepped forward, her body glowing bright blue. "Why fear us? We never threatened your people." "Because fully activated humans can control all progenitor technology in the galaxy," Kiver replied, "including planet-killer weapons and automated defense systems. The progenitors left their weapons everywhere before they destroyed themselves." With the flagship captured, Alan Parker gave the signal. Across Earth, the Resistance attacked. Enhanced humans with glowing bioelectric auras disabled Valtraxian technology. Their shields failed. Their weapons stopped working. Their soldiers experienced neural disruption when humans came near. News of humans with glowing auras defeating the invaders spread quickly. Valtraxian communications picked up the images, broadcasting them accidentally across their empire. On dozens of subjugated worlds, oppressed species saw humans overcoming their feared masters. Uprisings began everywhere. The Valtraxian Confederacy, built on fear and subjugation, began to crumble. On the captured flagship, now renamed Liberty, Alan Parker questioned Kiver further. Kiver looked defeated. "Valtrax Prime, in the Cerulus sector. But attacking it would be a mistake. There are weapons there that would destroy both our peoples." "We don't want destruction," Alan said. "We want freedom, for ourselves and every species you've enslaved." Susan studied the ship's star charts. "We can end this without more bloodshed. We can show the galaxy that humans choose to be peacekeepers, not the weapons we were." 1 month after capturing the Valtraxian flagship, General Alan Parker led a fleet toward Valtrax Prime. The fleet included the EDF Challenger, 20 liberated Valtraxian ships, and vessels from 12 other species who had joined the revolution. Together, they represented the largest multi-species alliance in recent galactic history. On the bridge of the flagship Liberty, Alan watched the tactical display. Status report. Valtraxian Defense Fleet is forming a blockade around their homeworld. Lieutenant Chris Howard replied. Nearly 300 ships. Susan Reeves stood nearby, reviewing data from their scans. "I'm detecting massive energy signatures on the planet's surface. Weapons systems activating." The captured Supreme General Kiver, now their reluctant advisor, nodded grimly. "The High Command will use the forbidden weapons rather than surrender. They would destroy themselves and you before accepting defeat." Alan turned to the communications officer. "Open a channel to the Valtraxian fleet." When the connection was established, Alan spoke clearly and calmly. This is General Alan Parker of Earth. We do not come seeking destruction. We offer terms: the complete dissolution of the Confederacy, freedom for all subjugated species, and the formation of a new galactic council where all races have equal representation. There was a long silence before a reply came. This is High Admiral Zex of the Voltraxian Defense Force. Your terms are rejected. Prepare to be destroyed. Kever stepped forward. Admiral Zex, this is Supreme General Kever. I have seen what the humans can do. They control progenitor technology and can disable our ships with their bioelectric fields. Fighting is pointless. You are a traitor, Kever. The High Command has activated the Sunbreaker weapons. In 1 hour, this system will be cleansed. The transmission cut off. Kever turned to Ellen with genuine fear in his eyes. The Sunbreaker can destroy every ship in this system and sterilize the outer planets. It was built using stolen progenitor technology. Susan stepped forward. If it's progenitor tech, we might be able to control it. I'll need a team of our strongest bioelectric operators. It's too dangerous, Alan argued. We should retreat and find another way. There is no other way, Susan replied. And no time. We can end this without more death. Alan finally agreed. Susan selected a team of 20 humans who had shown the strongest bioelectric abilities. They boarded a small, fast ship and headed toward Voltrax Prime, while the fleet engaged the Voltraxian defenses as a distraction. On the planet's surface, Voltraxian leaders gathered in a hardened bunker around the Sunbreaker control center. The weapon, a massive array of energy collectors and amplifiers, began powering up. Susan's team landed under heavy fire. Using their enhanced abilities, they pushed through Voltraxian defenses. Soldiers fell back as humans approached, their glowing blue auras now bright enough to light the corridors. When they reached the Sunbreaker facility, Susan placed her hands on the main control console. The other humans joined her, forming a circle. Their combined bioelectric fields created a dome of blue light. It's like the progenitor station. Susan said, "Focus your thoughts. We need to connect to the system." The Voltraxian technicians watched in horror as the Sunbreaker's controls responded to the humans. Displays changed, showing ancient symbols. Power levels began decreasing. "They're shutting it down," one technician cried. In orbit, the battle had reached a stalemate when suddenly all Voltraxian ships powered down simultaneously. The Sunbreaker facility on the planet went dark. Then, a message broadcast on all frequencies, in all languages. "This is Susan Reeves. The weapon is disabled. All progenitor technology in this system is now under human control. The war is over." In the following days, peace negotiations began. Most Voltraxian leaders surrendered, though a hardline faction attempted one last attack using banned biological weapons. Susan's team stopped them, proving that humanity could now protect the galaxy from even the most dangerous weapons. 3 months later, representatives from over 100 species gathered on a neutral space station to form the new Galactic Council. John Miller, now Earth's representative, addressed the assembly. "We were made as weapons, but we choose to be peacekeepers. Our power comes not from our design, but from our humanity, our capacity for both terrible violence and profound compassion. The progenitors may have shaped our bodies, but we alone shape our destiny." As the delegates applauded, the view screen showed Earth, now surrounded by a faint blue glow visible from space. It wasn't from oceans or atmosphere, but from the protective aura of billions of human bioelectric fields, finally awakened. In their chambers, the Council of former Voltraxian,